Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, we had New York Comic Con recently, and we had a Section 31 panel. They had 3 actors and the director, whose full name I can't pronounce. I just refer to him as Tundi, so that's what I'm going to do. A reporter or somebody asked the actors what makes their characters unfit to be in Starfleet. And the first actor, Amari Hardwick, who plays a character we now know is called a Locke, said that he is unfit for Starfleet because basically he's got mental issues and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and basically he just recruits a whole band of a motley crew of bandits to basically get together and just make trouble. Then we had Casey Roll, who's playing Rachel Garrett. She said, well, I am fit for Starfleet eventually. This is part of her journey, I guess. We got the names of Humberly Gonzalez's character is Melly. She's the bald woman who we believe is playing a Deltan. We don't really know much about her. We see a guy who looks like a Romulan. He's quite cute because he's smiling. He looks like a Vulcan, but he's smiling, so we're hoping he's a Romulan. His name is Fuzz. And also the character played by Robert Kaczynski is called Zeph. Now, I've heard about him. I've heard he's absolutely unintelligent, and when he said what made his character unfit for Starfleet, he said he's basically a brute and he just does whatever he's told and attacks whatever he's told to destroy. Now, they did a little bit of pondering what the history of Starfleet was with Section 31, and, you know, were they going to really get into it and find out what Section 31 was all about, or were they just going to sort of tell a side story? I was hoping they'd go for side story, but they're saying, no, we're going to explain what the whole thing is. And then a fan asked how Section 31 would fit in with the optimistic philosophy of Star Trek. And self-proclaimed superfan Rob Kaczynski jumped in, and he said, I'd like to take this one. As a fan, when the idea of a Section 31 movie first appeared, I was like, nah. We all hate the idea of Section 31. Nobody wants Section 31 to exist. Even when it appeared with Will Sadler, the head of Section 31, Luther Sloan in Deep Space Nine, we didn't like it. We were presented with a universe in Star Trek where we had moved beyond the need for Section 31. That was the whole point of Star Trek, where we had finally transcended all the things that were holding us down today and evolved to a point where Section 31 didn't exist, that we didn't need something like that. And then Deep Space Nine happened, and in The Power of Moonlight, Sisko says my favourite line in Star Trek. He says, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. And I really hate that line and that whole message, because what it says is the optimistic vision of Star Trek, that universe, Starfleet, all of that utopia, doesn't really exist. It's all an illusion for the privileged, and it's the real people down on the ground making it happen, and that's reality. And he starts spouting this, which I found really offensive, because I thought he got it at first, and then he goes on, he says, when you expand the universe into something more realistic, the simple truth, his truth of the matter, is the Federation can only exist if a Section 31 exists. So it's like he's accepted that, okay, we've got Section 31, we now need to justify it. So basically all we can do is we can take it from being a nefarious organisation to humanising it and actually showing the need for it, to showing on the frontier where the Federation doesn't already exist, there is a need for somebody to roll up their sleeves and live in the grey areas. So the pushback that I always felt and I always saw for Section 31 even existing, that's what we're actually trying to make here. We're trying to show that in the extended Star Trek universe, I don't quite know what he means by that, actually Section 31 is an integral part of it, as the Federation is in its entirety. And I think that is the idea of what we're doing, of expanding morality and the extended universe of Star Trek, and I think that's what we got. That's what you're really going to love. So at first I thought he got this, and I'm like, no, he's totally trashing Star Trek. What he's basically saying is the Federation can't exist without Section 31. That's the reality, the real world, and Star Trek is just a fantasy for the privileged. So I just find that offensive. Like, Gene's vision was that humanity is better than what we are now, and we will be better, and we'll have a better future, and Starfleet will be something that works in a utopian future, a utopian world where, we don't, revel in all the problems that we've got today, all the contemporary problems that we deal with, religion, sexism, homophobia, racism, war, all these things we will get past, and we will see that in other people, but that won't be a problem that we've got. So they're just justifying Section 31, and by doing that, they're destroying Star Trek and Starfleet and trashing it and saying it's just an illusion, which is what I hated about Deep Space Nine. They undermined Gene's vision because the people who were writing Star Trek at that time couldn't believe in that vision. They couldn't believe humanity was good. They believed that humanity ultimately was bad, and war and destruction and hatred was just who we were. And that was real. And Star Trek had to be an illusion, had to be a fantasy, something that was fake and held up by the real people down below toiling in the dirt and the muck. Well, it's their choice to be in the dirt and the muck because they don't believe in what humanity is capable of and what Star Trek is and what Starfleet could be. So, yeah, I read this and for a minute I thought they got it and they were going to show why Section 31 doesn't work and sort of be dismantling it. But really what they're doing is propping it up and justifying it when it's the absolute antithesis of what Star Trek is and stands for. So I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe.